I'm going to do a little video tutorial on how to make great pour over coffee. One of the things you want to think about getting is a scale, just because one of the things that you have to get right is the ratio of coffee to water. So the general ratio is for every 6 grams of coffee, you want to do 100 grams or 100 mils of water. And so that's what I always do. I measure out. I normally do 36 grams because that gives enough for Rachel and I to have a cup of coffee each. If I'm doing it just for myself, I'll do like 24 grams and have a big cup of coffee of 400 mils. But I'm doing it for both Rachel and I, so I'm going to do 36. And the other thing you want to think about getting is a grinder, because great coffee is determined by freshly ground beans, but also fresh beans. So you'll want to look at the roast state, if you can, on whatever pack you get. See, this was roasted 214, and is already getting old. Ideally, you get coffee that has been roasted within the last 2 weeks. And then it starts to go downhill, but this will still taste good. All right, so I've ground my coffee now. Just so that you can make coffee before you get a scale, it's roughly about 2 scoops or 2 tablespoons of coffee per cup of coffee that you're making. So this would be probably about 4 tablespoons for 2 cups of coffee. And then a cup is 250 mils. So you're gonna do about 1.5 cups of water per cup of coffee that you're making. So I would do 3 cups of water for the coffee I'm making now, because it's going to be 2 cups of coffee. All right, once you have your coffee ready and your water boiled, and you have your filter in and something to catch the coffee that is big enough for however much coffee you're making. If you're just doing 1 cup, I often will do it right into the Yeti. But you want to go ahead and wet the filter. This just helps take away any residual taste that the filter might, impact your coffee. So you want to go and wet your filter, let it drain through, and then empty it out into the sink. All right, once you have that back, I'm going to turn this, actually I'm going to pour the coffee in first, and then, because I don't want, and I'll turn the scale on so it is at 0 with all of that on top of it. And now it's time to start pouring. The first step is to kind of just get all the coffee grounds wet, just barely wet, and then let them sit for about 20 seconds. So this is an important part to make sure that you get a real even brew, and not some of the coffee beans get brewed and some of them don't. So after about 20 seconds or ish, we will start pouring, and you'll just pour around until it gets close to the top. And you wait a second for it to start going down. Keep pouring. I often try and get into these little grooves, but you don't have to actually do that. And every now and then I'll pay attention to how much water. My goal is 600 because I'm doing 2 cups of coffee. Again, if you've measured out the water already in your kettle, then you just pour until your water's empty. That's probably the easiest way for you to do it now, is to just measure the water in your kettle and boil the amount of water that you need. About 1.5 cups for every cup of coffee you're making. And once I get to 600 grams, I stop. And you just let it finish brewing, and then you're done.